Welcome to the Metal Voice. Today on the show, we got two reviews, baby. Two reviews. Mastodon's new album, Emperor of Sand, as well as Havok's new album, Conformicide. With me to review the new albums is the one, the only lead singer of Deathriders, former lead singer of Anthrax, and also the singer of Bleed the Hunger, Mr. Neil Turbin. So Neil, tell me what you thought about, we'll start off with Mastodon, then we'll go with the Havok.
Hello there everyone, this is Neil Turbin from Deathriders and Bleed the Hunger, and you're watching The Metal Voice. Today we're going to talk about the brand new album from Mastodon, Emperor of Sand, and some of the standout tracks and high points. For me, the first song right away kicks off and in your face, Show Yourself. To me it sounds like a college radio type anthem sounding very reminiscent in the vocal melody of the Foo Fighters. Sultan's Curse. This one reminds me of Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath, earlier era vocal melodies. Musically, there's moments of Tool, great drumming and guitar solo performances on here. One of the real standout tracks for me is Precious Stones. Again, another great catchy hook and vocal. Don't waste your time, don't let it slip away from you, if it's the last thing left to do. Even reminds me of Dream Theater in the instrumentation. This one is brilliant and epic. I think the pinnacle and very high point of the album. Clandestiny. Melodic vocals from Brand Daler in the choruses combined with the Lemmy-like vocals of Troy Sanders and also Brett Hines and Bill Kelleher during the verses. There's a bit of Foo Fighters in the melodies. I like the over-the-top drumming and shredding. Excellent drum and guitar sound throughout the whole entire album. Andromeda, heavy progressive rhythms, remind me of Tony McAlpine, Tears of Sahara. Kind of an eerie sort of vibe based on dark sounding minor chord progressions. Definitely some shredding on guitars and drums. Opens with the aggro vocals in the verses and then the melodic choruses. Another barn burner, Steambreather, running outside the Nazca Lines lyrics, captures you right away with the early Ozzy Osbourne Black Sabbath era delivery. Then the strong melodic chorus, I wonder who I am, I wonder where I stand, I'm afraid of myself. The excellent guitar riffs, which the key is tuned lower in Mastodon songs, not an E-flat band. The rhythmic brilliance of the band is outstanding here. There's deep percussion going on in addition to the drums throughout the album. The instrumentation here is fantastic, like on Word to the Wise, with all of its musical intricacies and great vocal melodies. These are artists that take you on a journey. It takes you and it keeps going to the next place. I mean, it's a really deep thought and a lot of effort in their compositions. I think there's enough progressive dark melodies and melodic vocals here with great hooks to keep me listening and engaged the whole time. This is one of the strongest releases of 2017, and it's right up there with Thunder, Rip It Up, and Creator, one of the best releases of 2017, and I give it a 9.5. Over to you, Jimmy.
Emperor of Sand. This album is a concept album, somewhere between Crack the Sky and their last album, Once More Around the Sun. The songs are not connected and they do not flow all together. They're basically single tracks. However, they do have this concept. The concept of this dying man wandering the desert, questioning his own mortality and the experiences he goes through in the desert. The idea and all the ideas within the lyrics of this album come from the band members' family who have suffered with cancer. So it's very dark, it's very depressing, but it's also very uplifting. In regards to the tracks themselves, you know, the album starts off with Show Yourself and then kind of dips a little bit, but the amazing part about this album is it track after track after track until the end. It's just unbelievable. A lot of thought, a lot of effort, a lot of pre-production. You can tell the lyrics have been worked on. The guitar solos are very melodic. They have been worked on. This is not an album that the band just jumped in the studio and cranked out 10 songs. This is a very well thought out. It's brutal, it's technical, it's dynamic. You know, the verses, you know, are more harsh, brutal, and metal. And then once the choruses kick in, they're very dynamic, big choruses, very touching choruses, and very melodic choruses. If there was a sour note to this album, I would say, you know what? I think I've heard that riff before, or I've heard that vocal line before. but upon repeat listens, you just fall in love with this album and you just can't get enough of it. Some killer tracks off this album. Pretty much every track is killer, but the best track off the album is the last track, which is Jaguar God. You know, it starts off very, very slow and it just builds it up like a grand finale. The nice thing about this album is the band is sort of like constructing songs that we all know Mastodon does. You know, basically within the box. But this time, once again, they're kind of breaking out a little bit. They're breaking out. You hear some keyboards there, you hear some piano there, some spacey samples. So it's very enjoyable. A pleasure to listen to. I would highly recommend this album. I put it somewhere between 8.9 out of 10 and 9 out of 10. Time will definitely tell how high this rating will go. It takes a lot of time to absorb. Havok, the Thrashers, the US Thrashers with their new album Conformicide. Here's a new band. I mean, there's a lot of new thrashing bands out there. And they kind of sound like, you know, all the old school Thrashers. But these guys have, you know, they have 4 albums out and they kind of found their own way. Somewhere between Megadeth, Exodus, and I would say Sodom. You know, the sort of like the screaming vocals of Sodom, the complexity and social political, you know, lyrics of Megadeth and guitar work. And I think that sort of tribal thrashing beat of Exodus and the gang vocals as well. A fairly enjoyable album. Technical thrash. The bass work is friggin' incredible on this. Is this a masterpiece? Probably not, but it's a really good album and a fun album to listen to. Technical thrash. There's a lot of punk happening there, at least 1 or 2 songs. You know, a lot of screaming vocals, some clean vocals, a lot of nice, cool melody, a lot of gang vocals. Here are some cool tracks that I really enjoyed. Hang 'Em High, great track. F.P.C, Intent to Deceive, Masterplan, Piece in Pieces, and Wake Up. So there's some fairly cool songs. What this album lacks is probably production, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, the production isn't that bad, but a bigger production probably would have been, you know, would have made the album with a higher rating. In terms of other sour points, I'd probably say that sometimes the band goes off on these tangents and maybe the songs are a little too long and you kind of get lost of where the song's going. But I'd have to say this is a strong album and I give this album definitely an 8 out of 10. Go pick it up. So there you have it. Mastodon's new album, Emperor of Sand, and Havok, Conformicide. Thanks for watching another edition of The Metal Voice.